Well, freight recession. Here's a video on how the recession is affecting us company drivers, owner-operators, lease operators, and small fleet owners. In a recent poll that I've conducted, 50% of you said out of 1,500 truck drivers have asked me to do an update on recession and freight rates. So here you have it. How is this going to affect? What kind of position are we in? How are we getting affected by the freight rates, by the recession? How are we company drivers getting affected? How are we owner operators getting affected? Lease operators and small fleet owners. And lastly, employees in the industries, dispatchers, freight brokers, anybody working in logistics and transportation, how your job is getting affected right now with this recession. So let's get started. Now, before I go to sleep every single night, I really scroll through my phone. I try to keep up to date on the latest news of trucking. So I read a lot of articles. Hey guys, look what I built. I've been working in this industry for about 16 years now. I chose to devote some time to helping others through this channel since I've seen truckers being exploited by our own industry providers for far too long. Company drivers, owner-operators, lease operators, small fleet owners, or anybody thinking of coming into our industry, this channel is for you. Make sure you're a subscriber to this channel and hit that bell notification so you can keep up to date on the latest information on North American trucking. Now, there are three topics that I see a huge influx over the last couple of weeks. Number one is layoffs. Number two is recession, and number three is bankruptcies. These are three that constantly pop into my news feeds. So let's have a look at these articles that I've stumbled upon. I want to take a couple of sentences that each one says, and I want to share it with you. So number one, C.H. Robinson lays off 650 employees. Originally, they thought they were going to lay off about 1,000 to 1,200 employees, but they managed to only lay off 650 employees. So the reason for the massive layoffs is because they reported a weaker than expected third quarter results and strongly hinted at impending labor cost reduction to combat the impact of slowing demand and increased costs. And they also said that they did not forecast truckload demand declining as rapidly as it did. Now, another article that I stumbled upon was Warner ready to navigate a downturn. So in this article, Chairman, President, and CEO Derek Leathers said he believes this downturn will be shallow as cost pressures are likely to push small carriers out of the market quickly. I actually liked what I read here, and I really think that this is a true reflection of what's happening in the market. Is many drivers during COVID and when the freight rates were exploding, when they were extremely high, $4, $5, $6 a mile, during the pandemic and after the pandemic, they haven't really navigated a down cycle yet. So anyone who was a company driver, an owner-operator that kind of ventured off and opened up their own authorities, they have yet to see this kind of recession since opening up their authorities. Now, right now, we're not just dealing with lower freight rates, we're also dealing with really, really high interest rates, pressuring equipment, financing, elevated fuel prices, a 40% reduction in spot rates. So if they were doing a load for $1,000 today, they're doing that same load for $600. Not only are they doing it for $600, but the cost of fuel is significantly higher than it was a year or two ago. This is the first time these small fleet owners and owner operators are really facing a downturn in the economy. So he predicts that a lot of these owner operators or small fleet owners are kind of going to dissolve and they're going to go out of business. So a big influx also in articles on recession. Here are just a few of them that I've stumbled upon. You can have a look. There's many articles on recession and how owner operators can stay afloat. The most common thing that I see with anybody educating drivers on how to overcome this recession is how to decrease your cost in fuel. We're not going to get into that, but there's also a lot of articles on bankruptcies. So have a look at these ones over here. A ton of articles on bankruptcies and companies going out of business. So I do believe that this is just the beginning. I think that there's going to be a lot more bankruptcies, Chapter 11 bankruptcies. There's going to be a ton of companies going out of business. Unfortunately, this is just the beginning, and some of these experts are believing that it will last until the end of 2023, and we have not yet reached the bottom. All right, so back to the original question. How is this going to affect company drivers? Well, company drivers will most likely get affected as they will start seeing more and more layovers happening. So it's not as if, just like it was 2 years ago and last year, where you do your delivery right away, there's a a reload for you coming back. A lot of company drivers right now are suffering because there are layovers. So layover number one, layover number two, how long is it going to take you before you start looking for another position? But it's just a matter of time where the situation is going to be the same with all the companies that are doing either cross-border freight or long haul. The loads are not as available as they were from a year or two ago. So a year or two ago, you have literally 5 or 6 loads for every one truck, so you can really pick and choose the best load that you want. Today, the situation is just a little bit differently. So company drivers, you are going to get affected by this. How else are company drivers going to get affected? If this lasts a little bit longer, you will start seeing driver pay rates coming down. Good companies will start decreasing their pay rates, especially the ones that have terminals all over the US, or the cross-border trucking companies that have terminals and reloads and drop trailer systems in place. They will start slowly decreasing their pay rates because there's going to be a huge influx of truck drivers looking for really good job positions without layovers. So that's how company drivers, that's how you might get affected. Owner operators that are running under the authorities of a bigger carrier. So you guys are going to get affected. So number one, if you are working on gross, your pay rates for loads are starting to climb down, and they're coming down fast. So just an example, if you were doing a load from Georgia to Pennsylvania and the rates used to be $2,400, $2,500, well, today that same load is running for about $1,800 or $1,900. So a huge pay decrease. Not only that, plus the cost of fuel has increased significantly. So you will see a huge shift in your pay. If you're working on mileage, you won't see that big of a difference. What you will see is if you are getting paid per mile, again, you will get impacted also the same way as company drivers, that the reloads and the loads are not there as much as they used to be. So today, the loads are not as easy to find, and customers have decreased their volumes. A lot of volumes have decreased over the last 3 to 6 months. Not only that, but whenever contracts are open for bid, I mean, those bids are going at 30-40% less, sometimes even 50-60% less than what they were going for 6 months ago or 8 months ago. Now, small fleet owners and the drivers that have their own authorities, so you guys are going to get affected the most out there. So because you still have the exact same expenses that you had 6 months ago and 8 months ago. Now, if you are not cash positive and you don't have a whack of money inside your bank account, then you are going to get affected, because slowly that money is going to be eaten away. Your insurance is still the same. The fact that the freight rates went down doesn't mean that you're paying less insurance. The fuel is outrageous right now. The cost of fuel is definitely all-time highs, and also the freight rates are really low. So you have low freight rates and you have high monthly costs. The trucks, the trailers, I mean the equipment financing, those prices are through the roof right now. So you are going to get affected the most. And what are most small fleet owners going to be doing, especially the ones with 1 or 2 trucks? They will most likely get back into working for a larger carrier that has the equipment, that has the contracts in place. The mid-sized to larger trucking companies is where I see these owner operators that are going to go. So you took advantage of an extremely high market. You made your money. Hopefully you saved it. Hopefully you put it aside. But now you are slowly starting to see that it's not worth having your own authorities and the amount of expenses that comes with it. Some drivers are going to just say, you know what, I don't need this headache. Let me just go work for another company that deals with the dispatching, that deals with getting my loads, that deals with everything, and I just need to drive and to do my pickups and deliveries. So I see small fleet owners and owner operators getting affected the most. So now we talked about the drivers, the owner operators, the lease operators, small fleet owners. Let's get into the office employees, dispatchers, freight brokers, anybody in accounting, anybody in sales. You guys are going to get affected also. Why? I'll tell you why. So over the last 6 months, these offshore dispatch offices have been becoming a thing. I have never entertained the offshore dispatch office, but I'll tell you, it sounds extremely lucrative. It appears to be that a lot of companies are gearing that way. So more and more companies are starting to take a portion of their employees and doing it offshore because it is much cheaper. I know that we have had at least 3 or 4 different offers to open up an offshore office. We haven't done it, and we do not want to entertain that idea yet, but you never know how bad things are going to get, and you might have to start looking at that option. So hopefully you learned something from this video. I do want to thank the audience for participating in the polls. These polls are a game changer because it helps us come out with our next video idea. So thank you for participating in these polls, and I look forward to your answers on the next one. I'm Ronen, Ronen, and I'll catch you in my next video.